Thankfully, Edith called us all in to Easter dinner then. Physically, Edith often reminds me of the main character from Keeping Up Appearances, only much shorter and minus the faux plummy accent. She always wears dresses, and there's almost always a belt high up that only serves to accentuate the firm ball of tweed-covered belly below. Edith is also frequently hysterical, but not in a funny way. At least, though, as she loudly shrieked for us to come in to dinner, she was saving us from hearing more about Malaysia. Or so I thought. Not that my sons needed it. Saving, that is. The way they'd stared at their uncle, like he was some sort of celebrity or something. Well, who could blame them? They'd seen him on the news or on the covers of magazines countless times. But in person? Hardly half a dozen. In the dining room, without thinking, without even asking Edith where she wanted us all to sit, Denny immediately settled into the seat at the head of the table. I saw Bert open his mouth, preparatory to objecting. It was his seat after all, his house. But then Edith jabbed him in the ribs with an elbow as she set the platter with the lamb at the foot of the table instead, giving her husband an amused eye-roll and a jerk of the head in the direction of their eldest son. Despite the condescension in that jerking head and those rolling eyes, I knew that Edith didn't look down on her son, necessarily. It was more like both she and Bert were eternally puzzled by Denny, and not a little frightened of him too. Once, while watching a televised program of one of his concerts with them, Bert shook his head in confusion throughout, and Edith was heard to mutter, "I thought he was going to be a maths teacher." Now, the man who'd been meant to be a maths teacher was opening a case he'd kept close by since arriving earlier in the day, and removing a large device, from which there came a ringing sound. "I've been expecting a call," Denny said importantly, punching a button on the device and placing it to his ear. "What is that?" Bert asked. "It's a mobile phone," Denny said, covering the speaker with one hand. Of course, there were smaller mobiles available by then, but Denny would have to have one that looked more ornate, like something the Queen might use. Or Batman. "A phone?" Bert said. "Look at that contraption. A phone in its own little suitcase." He snorted. "I can't see those ever catching on." Looking annoyed, Denny rose from his chair and exited the room to continue his call in private, stopping only long enough to snag a hot cross bun from the basket Edith had put out earlier. My boy's eyes followed him like he was a god, and at the table, silence. The only noises were the sounds of Denny talking and laughing his end of the conversation in the living room. After a full 10 minutes, the realization dawning on all of us that Denny wouldn't be returning any time soon, Jack offered, "I suppose we might as well go ahead and eat then." "We can't eat Easter dinner without your brother," Edith said stridently. "Why?" Jack said. "We've been eating Easter dinner without him for 20 years or more." "And that's the point," Edith said. Strident as she might naturally be, it was rare for her to say no to Jack. She loved him. Really, she did. "He hasn't been here in so long it wouldn't be right." A firm nod of the head. "We'll wait." All this talk about how long it had been since Denny was home, coupled with him not even bothering to remain at the table, did make me wonder, just why had Denny come home? Even if Jack hadn't persuaded Edith that we could start eating, by speaking up he had broken the ice, so he and Bert went back to talking about the travel agency again. They'd gotten as far as rehashing what had already been said, business very good, booming really, and Jack was once again on the verge of sharing our summer plans, when Denny returned. Without so much as an apology, he reseated himself at the head of the table, crossing one skinny leg over the other as he lounged back in his chair. "Where were we?" he wondered, and then, not waiting for an answer, "All right, Malaysia." Bert finally carved up the